Okay, so I have my little CRT telly set up here, along with a modified Megadrive 2 with a 50 and 60 Hz switch and an English and Japanese switch. I've also widened the slot to fit Japanese carts in, so yeah, I'm going to go show you the differences between the two switches and some variations on games and the borders and languages. So first of all, let's start by showing you the 50 and 60 Hz switch. So I'll switch it into 50 and start it. Let's turn that up for you a bit, guys. See there the borders and the slow song speed. The music is quite slow. And now if you watch Sonic, he'll be moving quite slowly. Almost feels delayed when you're playing it. Okay, so let's switch it off. Switch to 60. Okay, there we are, look. Full screen and playing at 100% speed. There we are. See, now that's quite a vast difference. Okay, so that's the 50 and 60 Hz. Let's show you the language settings. Okay, well, I use the game that most people use, is Streets of Rage. But here I have a copy of Streets of Rage and Bare Knuckle, Japanese. Now these are exactly the same game, although the titles may be different. Now both games contain both languages, so depending on which language you set, depends whether you play Streets of Rage or Bare Knuckle, even though there are no actual differences in the game except the title screen and the language. So I'll show you them in action now. Okay, so I'm going to be running it at 60 Hz rather than 50, and I think it's set to English language. As you can see, it is full screen. I have set it to 60 Hz. And there we have English text. Okay. Press the start button. There are Streets of Rage. Turn that off. Switch it to Japanese language. Still again at 60 Hz. There we are, look. Japanese text. Bare Knuckle. That's on the Streets of Rage cartridge. And again, we take the Streets of Rage cartridge out, put in Bare Knuckle, keep it on Japanese language. There we are, look. Japanese text. Sorry. Bare Knuckle on the Bare Knuckle cartridge. Flick it back to English language. There we go, English text. Now the really cool thing is you can change the text on the fly during the gameplay. If I switch it to Japanese now, give it a couple of seconds, and there we are, it will start printing out in Japanese, and you can switch it again back to English. There we are, back to English, and then again back to Japanese. And we ran out of text. Anyway, that's the differences between the two languages. Let's see. I can show you the. Okay, let's pop Sonic the Hedgehog back in. Okay, there we are, set to 50 Hz. Okay, so 50. Now also with the 50 and 60 Hz switch, you can flick it on the fly. There we are, it's back to 50, 60, 50, and 60. Now there are some games that really do not like being started at 60 at all. And one of the main problems I find, which is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Now, this game will not start up unless it is in 50 Hz. Okay, so I'll put it in 50 and English language. Loads up fine. Switch it to 60. Developed only with PAL and French Megadrives. Switch it to Japanese in 60. But still we get the same thing. Now most games you can start in 50. Like so. And then switch on the fly like I just said. But this game does not like it if you switch it to 60 Hz. Not at all. It loves running at 50, but if you start it at 50 and then switch it to 60, it's even slower. It just doesn't like it. So I have a problem, a fix for this problem. You need a copy of Sonic and Knuckles. Pop that in. Stick Sonic 3 straight on top. And it will load in 60 without any problems at all. And then you can play Sonic 3 then without any problems. So there are a couple of games that you're always going to get problems with. So far I've only found Sonic 3 to be the only problem. I think that's because maybe it has a battery backup for the memory, though I could be wrong. So yeah, a lot of these blue labelled ones, you'll find the blue labelled cases too. They normally don't like to be started in 60 because it region locks them out. But there are a few that you can bypass, like Aladdin. Now this one again uses the lockout, but you can press the switch when you've passed the licensing and it'll work fine. So let's just pop Aladdin in. We'll switch it to 50. As you see, it works fine. Switch it to 60. And again we have the same problem. So to fix this, you start it in 50. And then flick it to 60. And it will work fine. 50 Hz, 60 Hz, doesn't matter. It likes both settings. Like I said, only Sonic 3 is the only game that I find that doesn't work with both. Let's show you something really interesting. Here we have Revenge of the Shinobi, one of the best Mega Drive or Genesis titles. So let's start it in. Again, this can be started at 60 or 50. We'll start it in at 60, and this is the English language. The Revenge of Shinobi, okay? Switch it to Japanese language. The Super Shinobi. It's a different title. Anyway, yeah. So let's try it on a Genesis game, okay? Now this one I don't think has a lockout, so you can start it in 60. Or it likes to be started in 60, hence it's a Genesis game, so it'll want to be started at 60 Hz. There we are. And again, running through the languages. So yeah guys, there's a quick difference on 50 and 60 Hz. I hope this explains it to you. Again, there are still some variations of what you should use between the two. What should I pop in a minute? Let's pop in back in Streets of Rage. Let's leave it 60 at Japanese. So yeah, there are a couple of games that you have to play around with the switches, but it will play every game. So far I've only found that Sonic 3 is the only one that doesn't like to be played in 60 Hz. Though if you really want a Sonic 3 that starts at 60 Hz and doesn't have the problem where you need to use Sonic and Knuckles to bypass it, then just go out and buy a American or Japanese copy of Sonic 3. As this is a PAL system, it'll like it in PAL settings, which is 50 Hz for Sonic 3, but yeah, so if you just really want just Sonic 3 without Sonic and Knuckles, then just go out and buy a North American copy or a Japanese copy. It'll probably be your best bet. Just play a little Streets of Rage here, or Bare Knuckle, as I got it set at the moment. Again, also with Streets of Rage 2, same problem occurs. You need to start it in 60 Hz, but with Japanese language. If you start in 60 with English language, again, it won't work. So there are some games that start at 60 only when you have the language set to Japanese, because then it thinks it's NTSC, and then you can just turn the language back to English as soon as it bypasses the licensing, where it detects whether it's being used on a PAL or NTSC console. So yeah, the switches work absolutely fine. One of the settings that you shouldn't use is 50 Hz and Japanese, because they never made a Japanese 50 Hz game. It will not like it at all if you switch it to 60. And I think I'll be able to demonstrate that for you now. Give me a second. We'll turn it off. We'll switch it to 50 Hz and Japanese. There we go, I've got the border, so we're set at 50 Hz here. And Japanese text. Now if you switch it to 60, it does not like it. It does that with most games. I haven't found a game that doesn't do that actually. So yeah, you don't start a game with Japanese text and 50 Hz and then try and swap it into 60, because you'll get this flickering screen. And that's just because they never made a game that's 50 Hz and in Japanese language, so that would definitely be the reason. So yeah, that's a quick video of me showing off a couple of games with the 50 and 60 Hz switch and the English and Japanese switch. Some people like to refer them as the region switches or whatever, but yeah, so thanks guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and gave you a bit of insight between the two switches. And I'll catch you on my next video.